On this week's episode of What's Your Fantasy Football, we're going to talk about the top 10 running backs, PPR, that you must draft right now after this. Hey, look. Ruining dreams under pressure. Peachy be the one to bless ya, but don't test her. The queen reigns supreme, you know what I mean? Add the boy Breezy Prince like a king. When the two come together in any weather, they form a bond, stay tight in any measure. So it's my pleasure, the number one team. Let the world know what's your fantasy. What's going on, football fantasy world? It's your host, WayneBreezie, Crystal Peachy B, in the place to be. And on today's episode, we are going to focus on those running backs, those top 10 PPR running backs. Crystal, when you think of running backs, especially for PPR, like what are you looking for? What's the number one thing you're looking for?
For PPR, what I'm looking for is, of course, the running backs. They have to be able to touch the ball as much as possible. So you have to go with a running back that has his hands on the ball a lot, whether he's grabbing the ball to move it down the field or if he's catching, because it's definitely important in PPR to try to get a receiving running back if you can, which is one, that will catch the ball. The quarterback will throw the ball and he'll catch it. And those points add up a lot for PPR whenever that happens. But of course, then you also want to make sure that you get the running back. And also another important thing is to try to stay away from the running backs on teams where it's by committee, when there's like a lot of different running backs that do things within the offense, because that can burn you.
It could burn you, but if there's a number one back, like even with committee, you're gonna want to pick up. So, like for example, if you're talking about a team like the Detroit Lions, a healthy Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, I believe that's their other running back.
Yeah,
you had the opportunity to pick up both of them. Pick up one of those guys. I mean, either way, they're going to get utilized. But if it's a team where it's like the Chicago Bears, even though they did add DeAndre Swift to their roster, they have a plethora of running backs.
Yes.
So if we're talking PPR, you might want to pick up DeAndre Swift. But let's see if he made our list, and then let us know in the comment section if you guys agree by just emojiing a thumbs up. All right, emojiing a thumbs up. All right, let us know. Welcome to the show. Again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to join the channel. Actually, that's actually put on pause for right now, becoming a member, but you can still subscribe to the channel. So make sure you click that subscribe button. It would be well appreciated. And let's get to these top 10 wide receivers. All right, so we got the top 10 running backs, so we got the top 10 running backs right here, and we're going to start with 10 down. Peachy, I'm going to clip the clip, and then I'm going to have you give us a little synopsis on each running back. Okay. And I'll go ahead and explain stat wise why they should be picked up.
Okay.
All right, let's get it. Number 10, we got that big fella Derrick Henry.
Yes.
In Baltimore. Peachy, talk a little bit about Derrick Henry.
Oh, wow. First of all, you guys know that Derrick Henry is just a beast. He's a monster. It's endless what he's able to do. I'm so excited about seeing him in this Baltimore offense, because Baltimore used to be more like running back by committee, and they're not anymore. So you definitely, if you have a chance to get Henry, you must do that, because he can bowl over people. I've heard nothing but great things about him in training camp, and he just looks good. He looks ready to really get some great fantasy points this season.
I like that, man. He finished last season with 1,167 yards over in Tennessee. And so he's definitely the ball dominant carrier, and he was splitting reps with Tajay Spears out there in Tennessee. He also finished that season with on the season, as far as a receiving back, he had about 36 targets with 28 receptions for 214 yards.
Yes.
All right, so that's huge. All right, 214 yards. So you're definitely gonna want to pick up Derrick Henry as a running back if you can, if you can, and if you want to know as far as the touchdown production on the ground. Peachy talked about him rushing. He finished the season last year with 12 touchdowns. I don't know if he'll be that 17, 16 touchdown guy, but he could be. He talked about him being in Baltimore, and how dynamic is it going to be to have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? Like how do you defend that?
Right.
AFC North is going to look it's going to be crazy. But he did have 3 receiving touchdowns and a bonus. He threw for a touchdown too last year.
I was about to mention that.
He threw for a touchdown. There you go. Derrick Henry. So he's our number 10. Number 10. Number 9, we got Isaiah Pacheco from the NFL champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. It's tough to say that being a 49er fan.
I know.
Peachy,
it really
talk
is.
about Isaiah, man.
So one thing that the Kansas City Chiefs, I've been paying a lot of attention to them, of course, because they're our kryptonite. Like, seriously, like, good Lord. I was paying a lot of attention. I've heard a lot of great things about this kid. Not just that, but the Chiefs are trying so hard to get this run game going the way that they want to. They believe that they have figured that out. Pacheco can catch the ball. He can come out of the backfield. Like, he can do almost anything. He's really sensational. And like Breezie said, it pains me to have to say, but he's really going to be awesome in the Chiefs offense this season. So you definitely want to pick up Pacheco.
Especially as a pass catching back in the PPR league. That's kind of like where he thrives. He did finish last season with 935 yards on the ground with 7 TDs. But here's what sticks out. He had 49 targets for 44 receptions for 244 yards with 2 touchdowns. So, Patrick Mahomes, probably the greatest quarterback in the game at this moment, is going to be looking for his running back. He's going to be throwing to his running back. He runs hard, doesn't turn the ball over much. So this is our number 9 player, Isaiah Pacheco from the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's keep this moving. Number 8. We got Kyren Williams out of the Los Angeles Rams. What you got on Kyren Williams?
Kyren, because he happens to be in our division. We know Kyren very well already. Kyren does a lot for this Rams offense. He also can be a pass catcher. You're going to see a theme with this because it's important in PPR, if possible. If you can get a pass catching back, that's going to give you a lot more points because you get points for them running with the football, but you also get points for them receiving it. So you get different points for that, but he is very exciting. There's a lot of exciting pieces on this Rams offense, and Kyren Williams has definitely made a staple in this Rams offense.
I like Kyren Williams. I think he's going to be a prominent featured running back for the Rams. I know they picked up Blake Corum in the draft, but we're talking PPR. This is their guy. He's targeted. He was actually targeted 48 times with 32 receptions. He had 3 touchdowns catching, receiving. On the ground, he's a running back. He got you 1,144 yards and 12 touchdowns. That 12 touchdown number is super high. So Kyren Williams, is one of those young, I think, premier backs on the come up in the league. For those that don't get a guy like a Christian McCaffrey or one of those early running backs, don't worry. Kyren Williams should be available at the end of that first round for those drafting 9, 10, 11, or 12. So make sure you pick up Kyren Williams. He's our number 8 on What's Your Fantasy. We're going to keep this moving. We got Devon A-Chan. I hope I said that right. I remember I used to say A-Chain.
Yes.
And I think he corrected everybody out of Miami Dolphins.
A-Chan, has some speed. If everyone knows the Dolphins are speed, 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 that's all they care about. They try to get the speediest people that they have on their team. We're already familiar with their wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, and why is the other one escaping me? But Tyreek Hill and
Raheem Mostert. They got Jalen Waddle.
Waddle. Yes. So they have speed for days. And this one right here, HN, I actually have already drafted him twice. And I am very comfortable with that because I think that he's going to be a focal point in here. Raheem Mostert is also going to be out there, but I really think that the Dolphins are really trying to feature HN because that dude can get, Mostert's kind of getting up in there a little bit in age. And this is their guy. This is the Dolphins guy. So if you have a chance to get him, because again, he is a pass catcher, he can run, and like once he's able to just get out in space and just take off, you won't catch him. So that means that you will be getting touchdowns and all kinds of great, awesome points. So really looking forward to seeing how he does that.
I think you hit the bell on Devon Achane. He's definitely going to be their feature back this upcoming year. My only question mark about him is he did get injured last year, but before the injury, this dude had 103 rushing attempts for 800 yards. He had 800 yards on 103 attempts for 8 touchdowns. He was responsible for 30 of their first downs. So he's definitely, I believe, going to be their feature back, like you said. But here's where he gets his takeoff, I believe, is in the receiving game. He has the speed. He had 3 touchdowns receiving, 197 yards in the air off of 27 catches. He was targeted 37 times. So he's going to be definitely a key feature for the Miami Dolphins moving forward. And you definitely are going to want to pick him up this draft season for your fantasy football team. Don't miss out on the A-Chan train. Like Peachy said, she drafted him in 2 leagues. And again, he's probably, I would say, mid-tier first round, depending on how you draft, right? But if you're playing PPR, I just told you he's going to be targeted in the receiving game. And if you're looking to get one of those running backs that are going to get the catches, like Peachy talked about earlier on the show, you better snag them up because they're very limited in this year's draft. They're very limited in this year's draft. Let's keep it moving. We are down to, that was 8. Is this 7? 6? 6. We're at the good old man, Jonathan Taylor, Peachy, from the Indianapolis Colts. Talk about Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor, when healthy, is spectacular. He can also do it all. Like I said, there's a theme to this. He can be a pass catcher. He can run. He can break through almost anything when he's healthy. With their quarterback Richardson coming back this year, they're looking for huge things from Taylor. So I hope that he does do that because I've seen a lot of people draft him higher than I think was expected for him to be drafted. But I think it's because everybody just knows the skill set. They know what he's capable of becoming because he's already done it before. So like I said, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a beast for the Indianapolis Colts, and he'll be a beast for your fantasy lineup as well.
I think the key word you mentioned about Jonathan Taylor, Peachy, was health. Jonathan Taylor, when healthy, is probably one of the top premier running backs in the league. When you go back to that 2021 season where he just tore the roof off the NFL, on the ground he had 1,811 yards with 18 TDs, but in the air he had 40 receptions for 360 yards and another 2 TDs. So he finished that 2021 season with 20 total TDs, and then injuries came into play, right? And so in 2023, he wasn't the injured back. He was injured some of the games. He only played in 10 games. He started in 7. So again, injuries. The question is, can he overcome those injuries this season? Last year on the ground, he finished with 741 yards with 7 TDs. So I would say he's a top back in the league. You just got to draft him with caution. The question is, pay attention to his health. Healthy, he's number 6 on our list. Unhealthy, you might want to try to snag him in the 2nd round. And I tell you what, if you can get Jonathan Taylor in round 2 or round 3, late round 2, round 3, you might just have a steal in the draft. Because like Peachy said, his production prior is what allows him to stay up into the top tier PPR running backs in the league. So that was spot on. Next, though, we have another running back. At number 5, and Saquon Barkley is going to be on a new team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Peachy, what's your takes on Saquon Barkley, former Giant?
Wow. Saquon is basically, I still can't believe that Philly got him. And neither can the Giants and Giants fans. So just saying, that was crazy. Saquon is amazing to where he can also be a pass catcher, and then he can also just his speed is awesome. His agility is as well. So what I feel like that he's going to be in this Philly offense is he's going to bring over his own characteristic that he has about the way that he runs with the football. And I really feel like that with Jalen Hurts being the type of quarterback he is, with Saquon, I know that Philly, because my son's a Philly fan, wants to get the ball in his hand as much as possible. So I'm looking forward to that. Saquon is being drafted really super high in these drafts or whatever, which even with the Giants he was, but especially being in Philly with a fresh start, new team, everything like that, just building all this excitement for what Philly would like after what the debacles that happened last year with new coaching staff and everything. They got Saquon ready to really, really put some points up for fantasy this year. So I'm very excited about Saquon.
Very interesting. Saquon Barkley was born in the Bronx, New York. He played his college football in Penn State. He played relatively well his first 7 seasons, 6 seasons in New York. He did have some injuries that plagued him a little bit, but now he's going back home to where he played his college football. So it's like a home away from home, I guess. And he's going to be in the city of Philadelphia, as Peachy mentioned earlier. Last year, he finished the season with 962 yards, 6 touchdowns. In the air was where I thought he helped his team out a little bit. He had another 2 touchdowns in the air, 4 touchdowns in the air for 280 yards off of 41 receptions. But he was targeted 60 times. So Jalen Hurts is going to have fun throwing the ball to his check down, to his running back. This is a guy you're going to want to pick up. Also, what Peachy forgot to mention, remember we opened up the show talking about DeAndre Swift. They threw the ball to DeAndre Swift a lot. They got a better running back in Saquon Barkley, so their offense may be a little bit upgraded in Philly. Don't sleep, and this is why, even though he's kind of similar to Jonathan Taylor, he's rated a little bit above Jonathan Taylor, right? Because we know exactly what Philly's game plan is. It's going to be able to get the ball to their playmaker and Saquon Barkley, all right? So we are at Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, we do know that Jahmyr Gibbs is dealing with an injury, but you might not want to pass up on him because he's not out for the season. Football is not into another couple of weeks, and I believe he's probably going to be good to go at the beginning of the season. So talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, Peachy. I'll get his stats going.
Wow. Jahmyr Gibbs from the Detroit Lions, of course, has brought such an element to this offense since he's been a part of it. He has woken it up because he's also a pass catching back, and he can also run the football almost better than almost anyone else in the National Football League when he is completely 100%. He is spectacular in everything that he does. He can line up in the backfield, of course. And like I said, he's a pass catching back. Jared Goff tries to get him on a lot of plays. So he's definitely going to be the one that you're going to want to pick up. I know he has a backup running back, RB2 with David Montgomery, but Jahmyr Gibbs is the one that has his hand on the ball on so many offensive plays.
Yeah, like it was shared last year. David Montgomery kind of was more of the bell cow. They couldn't really figure out how to feature Jahmyr Gibbs as a rookie. But as a rookie, he also finished the season with 945 yards, 10 touchdowns on the ground. He was targeted, though, like Peachy said earlier, 71 times. So he had 52 receptions. Jared Goff was looking to get the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, he had a touchdown as well. But the key is those 71 targets. They didn't add or take away anybody, and I think that they're going to look to continue to get him that ball because of his ability to make plays with the ball in his hand. 71 targets. If he can catch 10 more of those targets, that's 60 points all season long just off of catching the daggone ball, right? And so you want this kid on your roster, and that's why he's our number 4 running back. We got to get to the top 3, Peachy, and this is going to be relatively fun. Top 3 running backs, and I hope everybody's ready. We're going to go to the city of Atlanta, ATL Shouty, where last year's rookie Bijan Robinson, who, in my opinion, wasn't utilized properly. Talk a little bit about Bijan Robinson out of Atlanta.
Wow, Bijan Robinson is one of the most exciting young running backs in the National Football League. And like Breezie just said, he was definitely not used properly at all. And last year, a lot of fantasy people were so mad at poor Bijan because he was not getting the ball. He wasn't getting the carries. He wasn't getting the chance to shine. But I'm telling you now, they have a complete new regime in Atlanta, and Bijan is their top priority to make sure that he gets the ball as much as possible so that he can showcase all of his skill sets. And he has a lot of that. If you guys remember how he sparked in preseason last year, everybody, of course, they ran to him, everybody grabbed him and stuff, and then they didn't have no idea that it was just gonna all fall apart. But Bijan is ready. I believe that everybody should be ready, and he definitely should be a top fantasy player this year for his running backs because they plan to keep this ball in his hand as much as possible. Very, very excited for Bijan this year.
Yeah, Bijan should have a successful season now that he has a quarterback. And so with Kirk Cousins being there, regardless of how you feel about Kirk Cousins, he is an efficient quarterback in the NFL that can get the ball to his running backs, especially in the game. Now, I don't know how much of that's going to change. And I do think that Bijan was misutilized early, and just like Jahmyr Gibbs, both rookies, right? Running backs that came into the league. But he did finish the season relatively strong. Close to 1,000 yards. He had 976 with 4 touchdowns. So you didn't get the touchdown production. You almost got the yardage to that 1K. But here is where I think he's going to be continue to be utilized because of his ability to make plays in the pass catching game. He was targeted 86 times, PG, and he finished with 58 receptions with 4 touchdowns. So he had a total of 8 touchdowns on the season, but he is their pass catching running back, and he had 487 yards. I didn't even realize he had almost 500 yards receiving as a running back. He may need to be number 2 on this list, but we got him at number 3 on What's Your Fantasy Football. Number 2, Breece Hall from the New York Football Jets. Peachy, take it away.
Oh man. First of all, this dude scares me. And my 49ers like face him week 1. I'm not looking forward to that at all.
Ain't never scared.
He's so spectacular. I believe that Brees is going to have a dynamite year. That's why we have him so high, because he is projected to have like the PPR palooza this year with having the ball in his hand. Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback, and as already said that he plans to utilize him as much as possible. So they're also, just like with Bijan, the quarterback plans to showcase this running back as much as possible. Brees is a pass catching back as well, and can also be a touchdown machine. I feel like that last season, even with Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, he still had a pretty decent year. This year, I'm looking for great things from Brees Hall this year. So if you have a chance to draft this kid, you must get him.
He's number 2, and here's why. All right. Number 2, he almost finished the season with 1,000 yards on the ground, 994. He had 5 touchdowns, so he was almost a 1,000-yard rusher in year 2. He's going into year 3, which means he's well seasoned as a running back in the NFL. But here is where he stands out. This guy was targeted 95 times. 95 times without an Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers may take away some of his targets because Aaron Rodgers is going to look to get the ball down the field a little bit more. But if you overlook this kid, can do damage. He finished the season with 76 receptions, 591 yards, and 4 touchdowns in the air. Some may argue that Brees Hall's number 1, but there's no way Brees Hall could be number 1 over the number 1 running back. If you're fantasy football and you're picking number 5 or 6 in this draft, you better snatch up Brees Hall, because he's second to our number 1, which is Christian McCaffrey, the NFL rushing leader, and should have been MVP, right? So Christian McCaffrey, San Francisco 49ers, we already know how he's featured in this offense. Peachy, talk a little bit about CMC.
Wow, there's so much I can say about CMC, but let me just give you the short version. If you draft first or second, one of them better be CMC.
Tell them why, though, if they draft first or second. Because no.
Yeah.
Because people might not understand what you mean if I draft first or second.
Okay. So when you get ready to draft for fantasy, you line up depending on what kind of league you're in, but it'll be random. A lot of them are randomized, or they go by when you joined the fantasy, but either way. So fantasy puts out a list every year about the projected number 1 picks. So they're called picks. And Christian McCaffrey is the number 1 fantasy pick on almost every single fantasy board that they have.
So if you're drafting first, you pick Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
If somebody drafts first and glances over Christian McCaffrey, then you pick Christian McCaffrey at number 2. If he falls to number 3, you pick him first. If Christian McCaffrey falls to number 4, you pick him first. No matter where Christian McCaffrey falls, you draft him on your team. You will thank us later, ladies and gents. Now listen. Those are our top 10 running backs. You got Christian McCaffrey at number 1. We got Brees Hall at number 2. We got Bijan Robinson at number 3. We got Jahmyr Gibbs at 4. Saquon Barkley at 5. Jonathan Taylor at 6. Devon Achane at 7. Kyron Williams at 8. Isaiah Pacheco at 9. And good old man Henry at number 10. Those are your top 10 running backs right here on What's Your Fantasy. Do us a favor. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Click that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Hey, look.